There's something about working the night shift that just feels off. When the world sleeps, strange things wake up. Empty aisles, flickering lights, a sudden voice on a dead radio. These aren't urban legends. These are real night shift stories, sent in by people who lived through them. So turn off the lights and walk into the 4 disturbing true night shift stories that I will be narrating to you tonight. Don't look back. So the first story is about the man in the freezer aisle. This happened about 5 years ago when I was working the night shift at a 24-hour supermarket. I won't say the store name, but it's a place you definitely recognize. Blue vests, smiley logos, the whole thing. I had just started there as part of the overnight restock crew. We'd clock in at 10 p.m., clock out around 6:30 in the morning. Most nights were dead quiet, just 5 or 6 of us stocking shelves in our own little sections with music playing low over the intercom. Kind of peaceful in a weird way. Anyway, my section was usually frozen foods. The aisle with all the glass doors and freezers humming nonstop. I actually liked it. Less foot traffic, less cleanup, just box stock repeat. But there was this one night in December. I don't know how to explain it. It was a Thursday, I think. Midweek, so the store was practically empty by midnight. Around 2:15 a.m., I was alone in the freezer aisle, breaking down some boxes. I had my earbuds in, listening to a podcast, but I could still hear the hum of the freezers in the background. Then, I got this feeling. You know how sometimes your body knows something's off before your brain does? Like you're not alone, even if you don't see anyone? I pulled out one earbud, looked around. Nothing. No customers. No co-workers. No carts moving. Just that same low hum. Then I noticed something weird with one of the freezer doors. The third one down on the right, it was slightly ajar. Not wide open, but not closed either. Just off. I figured someone from day's shift probably didn't shut it properly, so I walked over to fix it. As I got closer, I swear I heard something rustling from inside, like plastic bags being moved. Very faint. I assumed maybe some items had shifted or fallen, which sometimes happens. But when I opened the door to adjust them, I saw it. A man, sitting inside the freezer. I jumped back so hard, I slammed into the opposite glass door. He was crouched between bags of frozen vegetables and microwave meals, just staring at me. Pale face, wide eyes, and not blinking. At first I thought maybe he was homeless and trying to keep warm with the store's heat, until I remembered it's a freezer. Sub-zero. You don't stay in there long. Not without a coat. And this guy, he wasn't even wearing sleeves. Just a stained t-shirt and jeans. I yelled something, I don't remember what, but it was loud enough to get the attention of another employee a few aisles over. By the time she got there, the guy had bolted. We never saw him leave. No one saw him exit the freezer aisle. We checked the security cams. Here's where it gets messed up. The footage shows me walking up to the freezer door, flinching like I'd seen something, but there's no one in the freezer. No man. No movement. Just me. Reacting to nothing. The night manager called the cops just in case. They checked the whole store, even reviewed the tapes themselves. Same thing. Nothing. Everyone kind of laughed it off later, said I probably dozed off or imagined it. But I know what I saw. His face. The frost clinging to his eyebrows. His eyes like he hadn't slept in weeks. That stillness. After that, I refused to work the frozen section again. They moved me to dry goods. Every time I pass by frozen peas, I still think about him. Sitting there, silent, waiting. Today's second story is about the basement door that shouldn't have opened. Back in college, I worked part-time as a night custodian for an old medical office downtown. It wasn't a hospital, just a 2-story building with clinics, labs, and administrative stuff. But it had this eerie vibe. You know the type. Flickering hallway lights, that permanent chemical smell, and old linoleum floors that always seemed wet even when they weren't. I usually worked alone from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., cleaning bathrooms, vacuuming waiting rooms, and emptying trash from all the offices. I didn't mind the solitude, honestly. In fact, I kind of liked it. Until one night changed that. It was a Thursday. I remember because I was planning a weekend trip with my roommate, and we just finalized everything that morning. My shift had been normal up until about midnight. I had just finished the second floor and was heading down to the first, where the janitor's closet and the basement access were. Now, this basement was always locked. I've been told on my first day that it was used for old record storage, paper charts, boxes of insurance files, that sort of thing. They'd lost the keys years ago, and no one went down there anymore. Sounded like a fire hazard, but I didn't question it. That night, as I turned the corner near the janitor's closet, I noticed the basement door was wide open. Not cracked, not unlocked. Open. A black rectangle of darkness staring back at me. I froze. There was no reason, no possible reason, for that door to be open. The building had been locked since 9. Only one other person had the master key, the building manager, and he was out sick that week. I told myself it must have been maintenance. Maybe someone had finally decided to clean the basement out. Still, something about that dark stairwell just felt wrong, like it had been waiting to be noticed. I got closer to the doorway and leaned in. Pitch black. No lights on at all. Just the faintest cold draft rising up the stairs. And something else, a sound, like whispering, but not language. Just breathing. Soft. Labored. Vet. I flicked on my flashlight and pointed it downward. Nothing. Just stairs, dust, and that damp concrete basement smell. But then I saw it. A hand, gripping the railing about halfway down. Not moving. Just there. Pale fingers wrapped tight around the metal rail, like they belonged to someone crouched low, hiding just out of view. I didn't wait to see the rest. I slammed the door and locked it with a bolt, even though the keyhole was useless now. Then I shoved a mop bucket against it for good measure and backed away slowly. I finished my shift early that night, left a note for the building manager, and texted my supervisor that there was something off with the basement. When I came back the next night, the door was sealed shut again with a padlock and a paper sign that read, "Do not enter. Under maintenance." Nobody mentioned it. No one asked me about my note. And when I tried to bring it up, my supervisor said, "We don't talk about the basement." I worked a lot of night shifts since then, but I've never felt fear the way I did looking into that stairwell. Whatever was down there wasn't waiting to be found. It was waiting to come up. The third story is about the gas station radio. This one's from when I worked at a rural gas station in northern Michigan. One of those tiny middle-of-nowhere stops that only exists because there's no other place for 40 miles. It had 2 pumps, a soda fridge, and 1 bathroom that barely passed health inspections. I did the night shift every weekend from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was boring as hell most nights. Just me, a space heater, and the occasional trucker grabbing coffee and cigarettes. But this one night, I'll never forget it. It was midwinter, snow falling sideways. One of those blizzards that turns everything into static. No one had stopped by for hours. It was just me behind the counter, flipping through a beat-up copy of Popular Mechanics when the old radio behind me turned on. By itself. Now, this radio was ancient, like knobs instead of buttons. We kept it around more for background noise than anything. Most nights, it didn't even work right. But at exactly 2:04 a.m., it turned on and started playing. Not music, not a DJ, just static, then a voice. Not clear, not loud, just whispering under the fuzz. At first, I thought it was a station glitch. I tried turning the knob, but it wouldn't budge. Volume? Same thing. Frozen. I leaned in a bit, trying to make out the voice, and swear to God, I heard my name. Derek. That's me. Then again. Derek, look outside. Chills. Instant. I whipped around to the front windows, and that's when I noticed the porch light over the pump had gone out. It had been on all night. Those things stay lit automatically. But now, darkness. Just snow whipping by. I stepped out from behind the counter, slowly walking toward the glass doors. There were footprints. Fresh ones. Coming from the woods. Not going to a car. Not leading to the road. Just there. They stopped right at the front entrance. Like someone had walked straight up to the door and vanished. I didn't see anyone, but that feeling, like I was being watched, it was overwhelming. I locked the doors, shut off the radio, and sat in silence the rest of the shift. Next morning, when the day guy came in, I told him everything. You know what he said? "Oh yeah, that radio's weird. Always starts playing stuff when storms roll in." I asked if he'd ever heard a voice on it. He looked at me for a long second, then said, "Not a voice. Voices." I quit 2 weeks later. I have saved the most chilling one for the end. This one is about Security Camera 6. About a year ago, I worked night security at a mid-sized warehouse on the outskirts of town. It was mostly a distribution center for office supplies, printers, paper, toner, all that stuff. The company had been dealing with a few thefts during off hours, so they installed a full camera system and hired 2 overnight guards, me and another guy named Dennis. We worked alternating shifts. One of us in the control room watching cameras, the other doing floor rounds every hour. This happened on a Tuesday, about 3 months into the job. It was my night to monitor the cams while Dennis did his rounds. The setup was simple, 6 camera feeds on a screen in front of me. Nothing fancy, just grainy night vision and flickering timestamps. At around 2:37 a.m., camera 6 started glitching. Now, cam 6 covered the far loading dock. It didn't see much action, just a few deliveries a week, all during the day. At night, it usually showed a static shot of the empty bay with the chain link gate pulled down and locked. But this time, the screen was flickering, not blacking out, just shifting, like the footage was warping, stretching slightly, kind of like a VHS that's been recorded over too many times. I tapped the console. Nothing changed. Then the image snapped into place, and there was someone standing there. A woman. At least, I think it was a woman. She had long hair, and she was barefoot, wearing what looked like a hospital gown, just standing in the middle of the dock. Still, completely still. I blinked and leaned in. She wasn't moving, not even swaying, not reacting to the cold or the wind, just staring straight at the camera. I radioed Dennis immediately. "Hey, are you near loading dock 6? He replied a second later. "No, I'm by the break room." "What?" I told him someone was outside. He paused. "Is it a delivery? Or like a worker?" "No," I said. I don't know what it is." He said he'd head over. I kept my eyes glued to the monitor. The woman didn't move. Dennis radioed back about 3 minutes later, said he was at the dock and didn't see anything. No woman. No footprints. Nothing. I looked at the feed again. She was still there. Same spot. Same stare. Except now, she was smiling. I didn't even have time to respond before the entire feed cut to black. Just camera 6. The rest stayed on. We called our supervisor, and she told us to check the exterior in the morning. When the sun came up, we both walked out to the dock. Nothing there, but we did find something weird. The outside of the security camera, the actual casing, had scratches. Dozens of them. Thin, uneven, like someone had scraped it with their fingernails. That warehouse shut down a few months later, budget cuts or something. I'm working days now, not in security, but sometimes when I close my eyes, I can still picture that flickering screen. That pale face. That smile that somehow stretched just a little too wide to be human. Not all night shifts in with a clock out. Some leave you with scars, questions, and memories you can't explain. If you've ever seen something strange while working late, drop your story in the comments. We read every single one. And remember, not everything that wanders the dark is meant to be seen.